All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I'm jumping on video here just about 30 minutes early. This video will be posted before the normal video time, but I am jumping on early just because very little. I don't expect a lot to change. If something really dramatic changes, then I will jump back on here in 30 minutes. But given what's going on here, it's, as I mentioned this morning, it's likely to be a low volume day after a morning move. I suspect we'll probably see most things flatten out. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing stuff that was weak early, climb on back a little bit. Some of the stuff that was stronger early, I get a little weakness in it, but very little kind of game-changing type of action for most names and for most stocks. For the challenge, we have Visa on the board. It's up 90 cents here. No, not going to make any changes here to it. We're not on our time stops or anything of that sort right here with it. So we do have 11:12 tomorrow afternoon is when the red time stop comes in. So we do need to see Visa go, move into the close here today, move up tomorrow to put us into that position to be able to hold on and ride Visa. As far as any other trades, the only other crossover that is happening in the watch list today is Amazon. All the others, have no 3-7 crossover action on them. So Amazon's the only one, but the consolidation risk on this is very high. So no new signal here for Amazon. Now, something interesting today, talk about, Veterans Day and kind of how the market tends to move around these types of days. And I'm going to show this because we're going to see this the day after Thanksgiving. We'll probably see this at the end of after Christmas, during the last week of the year, where we're going to see action very similar to today. And what is that? Well, it's where, we'll gap up, we'll gap down, whatever, some news will drive it, but we'll get a small gap, and then we'll get some decent volumes in the morning, but they're going to be lower than most mornings. In fact, this morning, we had a few volumes over 5,000, but they tapered off very, very quickly. And in more active type of markets, we end up getting 3,000 to 5,000 futures contracts traded each and every minute. Now you can see what's happened here today. We get the action here this morning. 7:30 is market open, my time, Mountain Time. Then we get into 2 hours after, right? And then we get into kind of the European close. And after that, just take a look at what volumes are doing. I mean, we have some minutes where, volumes are less than 100. It is just one where there's not a lot in it. There's not a lot of, buyers in them. And just something where, the volumes, they've been a little lighter here over the last week. They got significantly lighter here today. And, low volume, what does that mean? Low volume simply means nothing's changing, here for stocks. And I think that's a very good assessment of today. Nothing's changing market-wide. From just a total market standpoint, there's very little that is, that is changing. If we go and we look at some individual stocks. We did see Boeing with some news here today that they're going to be, starting up deliveries again, and some maybe put some of that 737 stuff behind it, which is a big positive for them. And I'm sure this is not the last piece of news we'll get on it. But you think about everything that Boeing has gone through with this plane debacle, right? It is basically allowed the stock to consolidate here around 360 now for quite some time. And this is a stock that you could argue needed some consolidation. But if you back out to a weekly chart, we're talking about consolidation now for almost 2 years, right? After a very nice 2017, We have almost 2 years of consolidation here for Boeing. I would not be surprised to see it break out to the upside and see another one of those runs pushing this up into the $500 mark. If some of this stuff is behind them and investors don't feel like, okay, there's more kind of reprisal coming from some of the governing bodies around the world, which there's probably going to be some, but investors are going to look at this thing and go, earnings per share growth this year, 51%. 51% earnings growth. That's remarkable. That is remarkable here for Boeing. Now, some of their other stats don't mean a whole lot because of how the company allocates different things. But this is a stock that fundamentally is fairly cheap. In fact, its forward PE is around market average, with the some of the well above average earnings growth here. If we come and we look at the comparables and how they're going to look here for Boeing going forward, you can see this is the earnings, right? These are the earnings expectations, minus 59% last quarter, right? Next quarter, it's projected to be minus 64%. But take a look after that, what the projections are, and you think about the comparables, right? When they report earnings here in the first quarter of this year, or of next year, you compare that to the first quarter of the prior year, well, we're talking about some very nice earnings growth, right? The next quarter, we're still talking about some very nice earnings growth here. So it is one where Boeing's comparables on an earnings front are going to look nice, but most importantly, from a revenue front, are going to look nice. They're going to swing from this negative dip that they've been in here for most of 2019 into double-digit revenue growth. That's the kind of stock investors buy. They buy hand over fist, and they get very aggressive with for a long way up. So I look at Boeing today. Yeah, it's up 5%. I don't think this is a stock that you look at and say, well, 5%. That's not much, right? Now, I'm not in Boeing yet. I will be looking to get into it. I'll want to get into it on a calmer day, from a long-term standpoint. But, looking at kind of just how the news cycle has gone, today is that first sign of, all right, they're going to put some of this behind them, and maybe the time is now rather than 2 years from now, which is the only question I think investors have had, is just the when, right? And so Boeing has created some certainty with some of the wins here today, and that's a big positive here. And so Boeing has single-handedly lifted the Dow from loss to gain here today, right? Now other Dow components like Apple and Walgreens are in the green here today, but Intel, Microsoft, all in the green, but other Dow components like American Express, a few others, pushing into the red there today. So Boeing getting credited for lifting the Dow up. If we look at the MarketVibe, we're still at a 7. Still in a very bullish range. You look at something like the bullish percent index, it just continues to, just kind of creep on higher. Nothing too dramatic there. We've seen this environment many times before. It's a very bullish environment, but a bullish environment in which you expect to look back at the market after 10 days and go, oh, it's up 1 to 2%, right? Not a market that is leaping, 1 to 2% a day, a market that is just a slow, sluggish grind, a little bit up, a little bit down, but after a longer period of time, you go, oh, well, that was kind of just straight up. That's what the market's doing right now. We have, 300 stocks, almost 60% of the S&P trading above the 7-day moving average. That's nowhere close to an overbought number. We get up into the 410, 420, 430 area when it's seriously overbought. If we look at just number of stocks trading above the 20-day moving average, it's 327, nowhere close to the overbought area. So still a very nice environment for the bulls. Is there still headline risk? Absolutely, but that never goes away. There's always headline risk out there. But as far as today goes, low volume, not a lot of change. I don't think you can look at most stocks and go, well, this stock is different today than what it was before, based on today's action. There just aren't a lot of those out there. Boeing is one of those exceptions here, but I think this is one where the exceptions are very few. Micron, yeah, there's some news on it today and everything else, but I don't think you can make anything new out of Micron that you couldn't make out of it last week, right? And so we continue to kind of see that environment, and I expect that's going to be the environment here for the next while, and looking forward to seeing some of these stocks that are dipping, get some nice upside crossovers, and being able to play those as they come in, or should we get a bearish signal like we did with Pepsi last week, I will most certainly look to take it, cash, if the cash is available. All right. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I'll be back on with you here tomorrow, and we'll talk to you then. Take care.